This is going to be, I need to turn this off and deal with it in a few minutes. Hi, good morning. This is Robin. I'm Robin of Holstein House, bed and breakfast, small bread and breakfast in almost central Kanawha County, West Virginia. Not too far from the center part of the county. It's an odd little shaped county, so if you tried to do the math, we're pretty close. On this video blog, I try to share issues of the day, some current events, topics relating to running a small B&B like I do. A lot of people won't even call me a B&B because it's just the one room, but I consider it a micro B&B, if you will. And I share some information on cooking and food preparation and food storage and preparing for disasters, and a little bit of faith as well. So there's kind of a little bit of everything wrapped up here. And I really want to just talk to the average person, probably female, could be guys, but probably going to be females who want to do something at home, want to share their home with other people maybe, and bring in a little income without a lot of expense involved. And like I said, food preservation and preparation, and just a little bit of everything. So please forgive my clunky starts. I'm still getting used to this, still getting used to live stuff, still getting used to it all together. But today I kind of want to talk about a few things, a little bit about death, not death the process, but death, the rest of us, a little bit about life, a little bit about closing up our gardens, and a little bit about friends and family. So I don't have any sponsors. I'm not paid to do any of this. Anything I mention, any brand names or company names or anything like that, I don't get anything back. I'm not affiliates with anybody. I am a Thrive Life consultant. I'll tell you that whenever I mention Thrive Life. I'm also a Joy Organics consultant, but I don't do much with it. It didn't take off very well for me. There wasn't a lot of interest in it beyond myself, and so I haven't really done much with it. Oh, let's see. Do I have a little bit of merchandise out there? Not much. I'd have to link in, and I can do that. It's no problem. Things I just got to work out. So I haven't done a lot of these videos, as you probably know, if you go back, if you stumbled across me and looked at some of the videos I've had posted. But I hope to change that. I hope to grow this and be able to share. I don't want to call it wisdom, but share experiences in life with other folks, and help young people or somebody of any age who may not have ever had to deal with things in the household before. And as we're still coming out of the pandemic, and as the inflation is sky high, and the economy is in the crapper, people are looking for ways to save money, cut back on things, but still yet not feel like they've done it. So hopefully over the next several videos, I can share how I managed to do that here at the house, so that we don't really, I know that I'm cutting back on things, but probably nobody else does. So anyway, I know it's a terrible topic to start a conversation with, but I kind of want to talk about death, because in the past 7 days, not only has a friend of our family's passed away, but the father of a friend of ours passed away unexpectedly. And then I lost one of my ducks yesterday. But on Friday, this is Tuesday, and last Friday, my father came by. He has a blood test that he has to have done to check his cumin levels, and it's called an INR, and it looks kind of like a finger stick that diabetics do. You stab the finger, you give a little drop of blood, and put it on the little stick in the machine. The machine does what machines do, and then it tells you what the levels are. You call the levels in, the doctor tells you how to adjust your medication. So it's been a routine for almost every Friday. And occasionally we've done it on Thursday, occasionally on Saturday, but it's usually on Friday, like clockwork around noon. Either I go over to Dad's or Dad comes over here, and we do the little stick and get it reported so that the office can get back to us before they close. And so when Dad was here Friday, he was telling me that he said, "Do you remember David Duvall?" And I said, "That name sounds really familiar, and I don't know why." And he said, "Well, he grew up. He went to school with your mother, and was really kind of more her friend, but our friend as well." And I made something for him. He was always in these fraternal organizations. And I said, "Wait a minute, did you make a grill for him out of a 55-gallon steel drum?" And he said, "Yeah." So I recognized who it was then. This was back in the 70s when CB radios had picked up again, and Mom was in a local CB club, and Dave Duvall was too, and I think his wife, and I mean there was just quite a few people in the area that was in this organization, and Mom knew a lot of them from growing up in the area, and of course Dad did too. But he had passed away. We don't know exactly how. I'm sure his family does, but somehow he was doing some work with I want to say it was an excavator. I don't remember now, but it was a piece of heavy equipment along a riverbank on some property that he owns, and he just tipped it over and he drowned. We don't know if he had maybe a heart attack or stroke or something that caused it, or if the bank gave way, or exactly what it was. But Dad was telling me that he had passed away, and then just a few days before, a friend of the family's, John, his father died unexpectedly. And his father and my father are pretty close in age, and my husband's father. He had gone on a cruise with his son and his son's wife, and had come back, and they were in Florida, and he'd felt bad. So I don't know how many days had passed since they returned from the cruise and when he felt bad, because John's a friend of the family's, but we're not that detailed with his father. His mother passed some years ago. But anyway, so his father was feeling bad, and they took him to the hospital, and he had congestive heart failure. They got him treated. He called and he talked to John. Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday evening last week, and said they were going to do a heart cath on him because he had some blockage, and he expected to leave the hospital after they got done with that. So while they were doing the heart catheterization, he had an aneurysm break, and they couldn't save him, so he died on the operating table. And so John has been very upset about that, and I mean, rightfully so. And his services this morning, it's just in a family service. It's not a public service, so they're just going to say a few words and then take him to the cemetery. But one of the things that I did, and I have done for other people in the past, I try to do it. I don't always get to do it, but I try to do it. Is I fixed some food and sent to him, and I basically fixed a meal, not just like a pie or a meat tray. I fixed a meatloaf, fixed mashed potatoes and green beans, and a pie, actually 2 pies. John likes apple pie, so I fixed 2 of them because I've got apples anyway. And packed that up in a cooler, got a $5 cooler from Walmart. I was surprised they still had them in a little styrofoam one. But I had mentioned to him that I'd do that, and he says, "Oh, my refrigerator's full. I really can't. I don't have anywhere to store it." I told my husband, I said, "Well, we'll get a cooler. It can stay in there until he gets room. I mean, it'll be okay. So I packed it with some ice and all that and got it to him. But it's something you don't see that much anymore. It's young people today, people in their early 40s and uh, younger. I don't see much of that happening when there's a death. I don't see a lot of people taking food to the house. Sometimes the church will have a dinner. There was no church to have a dinner for John, and his brother lived out of state, so he's there by himself. Um, so I mean, I just kind of felt like I should do that, and I believe that is the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, not just any spirit, um, tweaking me to do this. Even though John doesn't attend a church, it's the right thing to do is to try to help someone in these times. And if you really stop and think about it, those of us who run a household, parents, or even if you don't have children and you're an adult, when there's a death in the family and someone you're close to, you go through all these emotions. You're angry, you're sad, you're hurt. Um, but one of the things that's common is you just don't feel like doing anything, much less cooking. So although I can send you condolences, I can send a card, I can send flowers. They're nice. They're nice to look at. But if I send food to you, not only am I showing a friendship, a loving friendship, excuse me, of here's, I, excuse me, um, I'm concerned, I want you to eat, and food is love. But it's also an expression of you can rest a little bit. You don't have to worry about cooking. This is a little bit off of your mind, off of your to-do list. You don't have to do so. While there's an entire industry built around stop trying to force food on people and don't make food about love, and it adds to obesity and it does all this stuff. Feeding someone like that, it's not the same thing. It's not like trying to push someone to eat at the family Thanksgiving dinner table. This is a gesture of trying to support the person, providing a little period of rest, providing some nutrition, providing some flavor to the taste buds, something good to eat. And, it's just an expression of love, compassionate love. And I think it goes a little longer way than just some flowers and a card. Yeah, they can save the card. But what is it? It's not what you tell someone, it's how you make them feel. And I know when my son passed away, after, when his suicide, um, I was numb. I didn't want to think about things, and trying to cook was the last thing I wanted to do. And so, although people would come to the door with food, it was awkward to accept it. But after a day or so, it was so wonderful. I really appreciated it so much. And there's just no way you can express your appreciation for stuff like that. So you pay it forward, you pay it to the next person. And I really kind of felt that it was important to do that for him because he doesn't have extended family. And then to kind of segue, it's still related to death, but not human. I went out yesterday evening to put the birds away for the evening to put them back up in the coop, and one of my pecans, my pecan duck was gone. And I mean, she was there. She died. She was in the water in the little barrel that I put water in for them to swim and bathe in. And I a couple of days ago, I had to help her out of that barrel. I had opened the run up and let them all run out in the yard, and she couldn't get up out of the water. And I thought, well, that's crazy. Is the water too low for you? So I put some more water in, and she couldn't get up out of it. She was craning and straining, trying to get. She couldn't get her wings up, and I thought, well, this isn't normal. So I reached down. Of course, they're not used to being handled, and lifted her up and set her down. And she took about half hour or so preening and cleaning and drying her feathers and stuff. And I was telling Wayne about it. I said, that's the strangest thing. I had to lift her up out of that water. And it was like she was soggy underneath. And ducks should be covered with oil so that not her feathers shouldn't be hot. But I never thought what in the world. I mean, I thought what caused it, but it went out of my mind. I mean, I saw her, she was cleaned up and she rubbed all her oil or whatever all around her. And but then, yesterday we were so busy. I fed them. I put fresh water out in there and everything yesterday morning, got them all fed, turned them loose. Everybody was happy. And then I wasn't back out there until yesterday evening. And she'd been gone for a little while. So bless her heart. It hurts. Even though she wasn't a pet, she's a livestock. But she was the smaller of the two pecans, and she's the one that the male just beat to death half the time. She hadn't laid an egg in a couple of years or more. So I just don't know what took her. I mean, I know it wasn't another animal or anything, but I've got to look that up. And if any of you guys have any familiarity with ducks and things that issues that might cause them to I guess she drowned or she exhausted herself trying to get up out of the water. I don't know. But if you know a direction to point me in, they put it down at the bottom in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Because I'm not sure what to look up to try to find out what it may have been. And it could be, whatever it is that caused her to stop laying, maybe. I don't know. But I've never heard of such a thing. And even my husband said, a duck that can't swim, can't get out of the water. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm probably going to sneeze here in just a minute because ragweed is really high, and that tingling you get before you sneeze, I got it. So if I sneeze, I apologize. So there, when they say they go in threes, well, we've got David and we've got John's father, and then we've got my little Pekin duck. It's terrible. It's terrible. And it hurts. It really does. It's not the same as when I have to put my dogs or cats down or something like that. It's still, it bothers me. It really bothers me. But we'll stop that depressing conversation now, and let's talk a little bit about life. Don't have any new babies coming, not human babies anyway. Oh, no ducks or chicken babies either. So nothing like that. But last week, I thought about it before, but I never really followed up on it. But last week I watched quite a few videos on sprouting seeds. And I had thought about it before. I don't remember what caused me to think about it again. But I started thinking about it again last week, and I looked on Amazon about seed sprouting kits. And some of those things were outrageously expensive. And I may have mentioned it the other day in my other video that on Amazon, which I probably shouldn't say their name like that because I don't want to, it's not a derogatory comment, but there are kits that you can get other than the trays and the lights and all that stuff you have to have with soil and everything. But there are kits you can get that consist just of a mason jar, a stainless steel lid, a mesh screen, and a prop so that you set the mason jar up. And so what you do is you put the seeds that you want to germinate or sprout in the mason jar. You put the screen on top, you put the lid on, then you you put some water in there and you rinse these seeds several times, and you empty that. Well, you put distilled water in and rinse them a little bit, and then you put distilled water in about twice as much as the seeds. So if you've got a quarter cup of seeds, and you would put 2/4 a cup of distilled water on them and let them soak, and then you drain them, and then for the next 5 days you rinse them a couple times a day, and you tip them up so that the water drains off, so that they're not sitting there in water and molding and stuff. These kits, some of them are $20, and I'm rolling my eyes thinking, what in the, this is ridiculous. So I did it myself. Go figure. I have mason jars, and if you have any jar that a mason jar ring, the outer ring, will fit on, you can do this without buying a bunch of stuff. So I also have a dehydrator, and when you get a dehydrator, you soon find out that when you're trying to dehydrate stuff like frozen mixed vegetables, that they get really small, and a lot of them will fall through the holes in the trays, because the trays are made so that they kind of look like a mesh, and those little holes let the air circulate. Well, a lot of these foods, especially corn, will shrink up after they dehydrate, and it'll fall through those holes. So you get either use parchment paper, or you find these sheets of mesh, and the better ones are they're almost like a plastic. They're maybe a Teflon, but it's not food grade stainless or metal, because then you end up cooking it. But it's like a plastic mesh, and it's very flexible, and you can cut them with scissors. And so I had some of that. Didn't bring a piece over here to show you, but and of course I've got mason jars, and a lot of folks, if you buy spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce or some of the cheeses and stuff in a jar, mason jar lid will fit on them, and you just need the ring part anyway. So I got some of my pint mason jars out, wide mouths, because that's the better way to do it, is with a wide mouth, and cut the screen from the. I'm trying not to get a few drips of water on this while I'm getting ready to show you. Anyway, so I got that, and I trimmed it to fit, and I put it on the mason jar, and I got out some beans that I've got. So I've got some mung beans, I've got some pintos, I've got some garbanzo, which are chickpeas, and then I've got some lentils, red lentils. So I thought, I'm going to try these. So 5 days ago, these were just plain mung beans, these wee tiny little mung beans. And now they're all sprouted out. And I think today is the day that I can eat them. But so you see right here, this is that mesh from my dehydrator. And I had some left over because I had to trim it to fit. And I just cut a circle out of one. And this is just a regular mason jar lid. And it's not going to be on there long enough to rust, so it doesn't have to be stainless. Okay, so I'll take these out of this container here, and I'll put them in something else, put them in the refrigerator either later today or tomorrow. But you can see, I know I don't have a mung bean to show you how tiny they are, because I didn't plan it out that well. But mung beans are really teeny tiny, and so you put them in the jar, you put the distilled water on and let them soak. And after you drain them, after they soak overnight, you can just use tap water to rinse them. So you let the tap water run in here, swish them around a little bit, dump the tap water out. Do that a couple of times at least. And as they sprout, get a little more gentle so that you're not tearing them up. And then you just kind of roll it around a little bit, because you want the beans to kind of stick to the sides without clumping up. Now, of course, they're going to clump now because they're sprouted. But then you want to set them at an angle so that any water that's still left in there will drain out, so that you don't have a mold issue. And the way, when you buy those kits, they have a little thing that you prop them up on. very similar to the things that you prop your tablets up on and stuff to watch your videos and stuff, or just to prop your tablet up to record or whatever. So I propped this up, and I again, it's my fault for not planning this out a little better. I just got a Tupperware, actually it's Rubbermaid, casserole, plastic casserole, covered take-along casserole, put some paper towel on the bottom, and I used pot holders, and I put the pot holders in the corner of the casserole pan, and I propped the jars up this way. That kept the jars from sliding, kept them propped up enough so that the water would come out, and then put the paper towel on the bottom, absorb the water so there wouldn't be a puddle, and it helped it not sit there and get smelly, because after the first couple of days, one of them got smelly, and it was because their water was puddled up there. But I think those are neat. These are really, mung beans sprouts are really expensive if you go to those salad bars at the grocery store and pack them up. Now, the garbanzos or the chickpeas haven't sprouted as well, but they have sprouted. I don't know if you'll be able to see. There's only a few in there that are sprouted. Let's see a little bit there, and there's a few there. So they haven't done as well as the mung beans. So they'll get another day or so, I think. Then the lentils. I will warn you that water will gather, because you have to have them tipped. Water will gather in that ring, and that may be why they promote the stainless ones, so that there's no rust. But if you don't leave these on here all the time, you won't have to worry about that. So these are the red lentils. I don't know if there's one there that's sprouted. There's one there that's sprouted. Sprouts or not. It's not gonna look very good, but they're not sprouting very well. So I'll give them another day or two. And the pinto beans, I only tried them because that's the kind of beans I had. Nothing. None of them are sprouted. So I won't leave them. I'll leave them a little while yet. So what I did with my pints, if you watch some YouTubes on this, you'll find one or two that will tell you, if they're doing it this way, that they're using a half-gallon mason jar, and they're using like 3/4 of a cup of seeds, and I had it written down somewhere. I don't know where I put it. 3/4 cups of seeds and a 1/4 cup of water, and I don't remember now what the number is, but I did the math on that to reduce it down to the pint size. So that's why there's, especially like the pintos, there's just a handful of them in there, because that's what it must be. So I'm kind of anxious to try those, the mung bean ones, especially because they look really good. I can't say that I'm very much on sprouts, but one of the things I'd like to try to do is through the winter, be able to grow some, and microgreens they like to call them, but they're still sprouts, just to supplement our food and keep costs down a little bit for the groceries on fresh vegetables. I've also looked at, you can do it with soils. There's one guy that I don't have his name written down. I'll have to write that down and put it maybe in the comment in the description, that I watched, who would take, I don't have any of those close either, but they're the fast food containers from like Applebee's or whatever. And he would take the lid, he would turn the lid over so that it was upside down. He cut a couple slots in them. the same size as his paper towels were wide, or he would fold the paper towels. But the idea was to put the edges of the paper towel through the slots, and then the majority of the paper towel on what's now the top, and so that the paper towel would absorb and slowly pull water up and nutrients, because you're going to have to put some kind of fertilizer in there, up out of the lower container. So you put the one on top of the other, and I wish I had something to show you. But anyway, then you put the seeds in the top, and then you use another piece of the carryout container to cover it for a while, because in that style you don't want any light getting to the seeds before they sprout, and you want them to sprout for a few days before you take the top off to let the light in, so that they get just right. If you look into microgreens, and I might do another couple more in detailed videos on them, but you'll see that they want them very, very compact, a lot of seeds in one container, and you want them to get up to, of course, seeds sprout, and then they have the first leaves, which aren't the permanent leaves. Excuse me. And then they have the second, what they call real leaves, I think is what they call them. And you don't want them to get much taller than that. You only want them to get root and all about that big. So, but I'm really curious about that, and I want to try to set something up. Now, I thought about doing it in the basement, and then they started talking about the temperature, what the temperature has to be for that, and it may be a little too cool in the basement through the winter. So I'm going to work that out a little bit more. But I'm kind of excited to try it and see. I'm not that big on sprouts, but I've never really tried it, and if it will help, take the edge off my grocery bill by providing us something else to eat in our diet, that's considered a fresh vegetable. Try it and see what happens. I mean, it's a quarter cup of seeds or a quarter cup of beans or seeds or whatever they've already got. And if you've got garden seed, and even my garden is just a container garden, so I don't use a whole package of seeds. So like green bean seeds or kale seeds or stuff like that, I don't use the whole package. And you can use those seeds as well. Any agricultural seed that you would plant in the garden to grow can be used. But I'm going to study up on that a little bit more, and I'll show you. I'll put some videos together as I do that. Otherwise, I have apple butter in this, I have apples in the slow cooker to make apple butter and apple sauce. Probably more butter than sauce, because I think I've overloaded. There's too much cinnamon in this batch for apple sauce. But I got a whole bushel of Fuji apples. They're really nice. They're West Virginia apples out of our northern or our eastern panhandle. Only thing about it is they have so much wax on them. I mean, it's really, you can feel it. Even when you wash them, it's just hard to get off. I made some baked apples a couple days ago because they were about to go bad, and even though I washed them, when I took them out of the oven, you could tell that there was still wax. I mean, it looked awful. The peels looked awful. But at any rate, so what I've got is it's peeled and sliced up. Oh gosh, probably 15 cups of apples for my slow cooker. Put them in there, and I slow cooked them down for about 48 hours altogether the first time, before I put any cinnamon or sugar in them. And I tasted them for sugar, and then I put the cinnamon in there. A little too much cinnamon, but they'll still be good. And they're cooking down some more now. And these are good. I love these. Are sweet. I'm trying to cut back on the carbohydrates. I'm not going to like zero, but I'm trying to cut back on them. I love a sweet apple. So maybe I'll show you that as I go to can them and water bath them. And for apple butter, it goes quick. It really goes quick when they're done. It doesn't take much to empty out. I mean, you get the little jelly jars, or even the little smaller ones for the half pints and the little jelly jars, and it doesn't take any. Just they're gone in one meal. So let's see. Oh, this week the weather's supposed to be pretty good. It's going to be cool. It's not going to be above. It's not even going to get to 70 if the meteorological forecasts are correct. It's not supposed to get above 70, and it's chilly down in the 40s at night. So I've had to close the windows up. I've resisted the temptation to turn the heat on. I may have to do that tonight though, because I tell you what, my bathroom was freezing when I got in there and took a shower. I thought I was going to die. And we don't have a separate heat element in there. It's, a lot of people have the vent and heat all in one. I don't have. Now I do have a heated floor pad thing in there. We were tickled to get that when we first remodeled the bathroom, but it's not the same. It's not, I mean, it's good on you. It feels good on your feet and everything, but it's not the same as having a heated room. So I come out of there, I was freezing to death. But and now I got to decide what temperature to set the heater on. I don't like the cold. The cold hurts my bones, and I need the warm. Not Florida, not Southern Florida warm now. I don't need that much warm, but I need something a little warmer than that. But than what we've got going on right now. So I'm going to have to turn the heat on, but I'm really trying to wait. If I wait till the 1st of October, it's a few more days. I also need an inspection sticker, and my windshield's busted, so I've got to get my windshield replaced. And I have terrible time with windshields on vehicles. My truck, my 2005 Chevy Colorado, it had 3 miles on it when we bought it. We took it off the lot at the dealership, and I love that truck. The husband's telling me it's wearing out, and this is rusted and that's coming apart, and I'm like, no, put it back together. But a little teeny tiny ping of a rock will cause the whole windshield to just crack all the way across. And I've probably put, since 2005, since we bought that truck, probably put about 5 windshields in it. I mean, it's crazy. Now my car, I have a little Fiat 500, and I like that little car. It just zips around and it can U-turn, and I mean, it's just easy. I love to drive it. I didn't break the windshield. He took it to Virginia when he was working back in the late spring, early summer, and got behind a tractor trailer, and a rock hit it just in the right place, and it's just splintered all across. So I thought my inspection sticker, West Virginia requires an inspection sticker every year. I thought my sticker was good till May, but the truck sticker is good till May. So I got them mixed up. And so my sticker has to be replaced before Saturday. And I'm not going to be able to get the windshield changed before then. So really, always. I love the clock. It's always interrupting me. But anyway, I got to come up with the money for the windshield and get that changed out, and then get a new inspection sticker. But so I started this talking about the weather. The weather's supposed to be fairly decent, and I got to finish closing out my container garden, tear out all the vegetation out of it, and get it either composted or burned. He's got a burn pit, but he's got a lot of stuff on it. I don't like big fires like that, so I may wait till he gets home to do that. I got to clean that out, and then just tidy up the garden tools and stuff, and get things like that away. Get the garden hoses put up. The one I have to keep out because of the ducks and the chicken. Well, mostly the ducks, because I have to fill up their tub thing where they swim and wash. But it's too much. I can't. I mean, it's I don't know how many gallons it is. 20 gallons, 50 gallons, 40 gallons. I don't know what it is. It's a big planter tub, and it looks like like half of a whiskey barrel, except it's plastic or whatever, resin or whatever. So it takes a lot of water. I can't carry it. The water for their drinking and stuff like that. I've got a couple buckets I can carry that in. deal. But I can't carry that water. It's just too much. So I need to do that, and I need to paint the concrete blocks under the house. We were going to do that a couple of years ago. We didn't get it done, and they're starting to wear. They need some paint put on them. And so I'd like to get that done this week because it's already Tuesday, and Dad and I have cardiology appointments tomorrow. So that we'll shoot that. So I'll have to try to get it Thursday or Friday or Saturday. I won't do it Sunday. I'm a little old fashioned that way. I'll cook dinner and stuff on Sundays, but I think you should just kind of kick back on Sundays for a lot of reasons. As a Christian, we tend to, unless you're a Seventh-day Advent, we tend to consider Sunday as the Sabbath, and tradition says that you don't work on the Sabbath unless you have to. Christ tells a story about getting the ox out of the ditch, and so it's an emergency situation, but otherwise you should take it, and you should rest, and you should reflect on the Lord and all that He's done for you, and honor Him and thank Him, and just rest, because God rested on the seventh day as well. For those who believe. Some people don't believe, so okay. So I don't like to do a lot of stuff like that. I mean, sometimes you got to do stuff, and obviously women, for the most part, are cooking on Sundays. You don't generally cook up twice as much stuff on Saturdays, and I mean, I know there's groups of people who do, and then try to eat it without washing your dishes. I mean, it's just, I don't know, but I just try not to do a lot of unnecessary stuff, and painting it outside, unless that's the only day of the week that the weather's going to be good, is really not necessary. So there's that. But in my as I start to wind this down, in my conversation with my friend John, or our friend John, I mentioned to him that he was an adopted part of my extended family, and he says, "Oh no, oh wait, no, I think of you guys as friends." But he said, my family is dysfunctional, and I don't do well with the idea of family. And I tried to explain that family doesn't have to be your blood. Now, I know there's a lot of people that make a big deal of it. They don't like their family, so they, say, well, you don't have to be blood to be family. And you don't really, because otherwise adoption would not be successful. But, I welcome a lot of people into my extended family. And I told him, I said, my extended family, which I consider you part of, also includes cousins and friends who are welcome in our home just about any time. And there's really not too many of those out there, extended family members that aren't related by blood, that I consider family, but there's a fair few. And I think sometimes we all get wrapped up in this idea of what family's supposed to be, what it's supposed to look like. And this was part of our conversation. John will say most families fill in the blank. Let's say most families have roast dinner for Sunday, roast beef on Sunday for dinner. Well, no, we fall into these, as a society, we fall into these ideas of what life is supposed to be. We've come up at a time where television's, for those who were aware in the 50s, the Ozzie and Harriet and the Leave It to Beavers and those type of things, on around to those who were aware in the 60s and 70s when you had the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch and stuff. And so you get these idea of what family's supposed to be. And that's exactly not necessarily true. Family, while the idea of family is bloodline, it's not necessarily bloodline. I mean, because you marry someone, just because I'm married, my husband and I aren't of the same blood. usually. Um, so you marry somebody who you're not related to, and then you're assumed to be related, but you're related to your children and their offspring and their descendants, but you're not related before that marriage. And just you don't share DNA just because you got married. Your offspring do, and your descendants do, but you don't. So you create a family, and then when people adopt children, I don't know why you can't adopt adults, but you adopt children into your family, they become your family, even though you're not blood related. And how many of us say our pets are our family? You know, and there are organizations that we consider that we're part of to be family, say your church family. So there are differing definitions of family, but there's no one set standard of behavior for family. Even back when it was not really acceptable for a family to for someone to be divorced and remarry, and even when people frowned on that, there was still family. So I know I'm not making myself very clear, and I apologize for that. I welcome other people in to a degree. The ones that I welcome in further, I consider family. And he was nervous because he sees family as dysfunctional. And a lot of families are, but we all have moments of dysfunction. Not every family. Hey, my husband and I don't get along all the time. We do most of the time, but not all the time. And that doesn't make it dysfunctional because we have disagreements or want different things at different times. So I tried to explain this. And I probably wasn't any more clear than I am here today. That I can consider someone part of my family, even though they're not blood related. Because even some of my blood relatives, I don't consider family. I know it's not very clear. And I apologize for that. I'll work that out a little better. I'll work that out a little better. Well, we're coming up on almost an hour, and I really hadn't planned to go quite this long. I just wanted to touch base and share a little bit that some of the struggles that I've had this week with death around me. But I know, and it's just part of my faith. I know the Lord's He's not just with me, but He's with them and their families. And when we pray for people, we ask the Lord to look out for them, even if they themselves are not believers. So I don't know specifically if he's a believer, but I know that the Lord's with him and is going to help him through this if he'll let him. Now you can refuse help from the Lord. You can definitely that. There's a lot of people who refuse the Lord, but I think the Lord will be with him during this period, and he'll be okay. But John especially has a bit of a challenge ahead of him. That's not for public discussion, but he needs his family and he needs his friends, and I hope we'll all be there for him. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and I thank you for spending some time with me. I don't see any comments. I don't see that there's been anybody on with us today, which is fine. I'm used to that. It'll take a long time for the algorithms to pick me up, and it may be that they don't. it may be that they don't. This may never go anywhere. It may just be me talking to myself all the time. That's okay too. But I do appreciate the time that you spent with me today, and I hope that your week goes well. And I'll say goodbye until we see each other again. Goodbye.